Washington Commander Declassified podcast listeners and viewers, welcome in to the official trial of Sam Howell. Now, I know that sounds crazy, but what we intend to do tonight is to prove the case for Sam Howell being our starting quarterback week one and throughout the season or not. It's going to be a very interesting show. Stay with us throughout this. You're going to enjoy it. We want your opinions and feedback. You be the jury. Brian's going to be the defense. I'm going to be the prosecutor. Eric is our judge. He's as cool as Judge Joe Brown. Say what's up, Eric.
What's up? Don't forget the jury. I got Albert Einstein and Audrey Hepburn tonight, or the jury helping me with my decision.
Brian, Mr. Defense Attorney, what's going on?
Not too much. I'm ready to state the case.
Yeah, Brian's looking sharp. He dressed for the role. And you know what? So what if he's a public defender? He doesn't care. He's going to represent his case, right? And yeah, should be fun. Like I said, if you're not already subscribed, make sure you are locked in. Hit the subscribe button, hit the follow button, hit the like button, leave a comment, do all of that. Make sure you check out our previous content. It is everywhere, and we enjoy bringing it to you. All right. So to kick this trial off of Sam Howell, Brian, the defense, is going to go ahead and give his opening statement. Brian, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'd like to talk to you about my client, Samuel F. Howell. He is a fifth-round pick out of the University of North Carolina, quarterback. Quarterback is always a hot topic, especially here in the District of Columbia, where there haven't been many quarterbacks, which brings me to my client, Sam Howell. Sam Howell, lauded as one of the top quarterbacks in his draft class, fell very surprisingly to the fifth round and has been unfairly punished because of it. And tonight, I hope to prove to you and to everybody listening that Sam Howell is worthy of that opportunity to start based on his preparation, how he prepares to be a good teammate, how he prepares to be the starter by his physical abilities. He has amazing arm talent. He is a good runner. But also how he takes to the classroom and how he watches film, how he prepares. All of these things to say that at the most important position in or on a football team, we have to explore the opportunity for Sam Howell to showcase what he can do. The team drafted him. They believed in him. They scouted him. And now it's time for them to start him, to give him that opportunity to show us who he is.
So the defense is going to try to convince you that Sam Howell wasn't a fifth-round pick. They're going to tell you that he's not your typical fifth-round pick. But what I would say to you that Sam Howell has in common with every other fifth-round pick is that he was picked in the fifth round. And so therefore, yes, he's a fifth-round pick. That's what he is. That is what the NFL evaluated him as. And it wasn't like this evaluation came in a year of stunning other quarterback peers. This was one of the worst quarterback classes in recent history. Now, it is important to be said that me, as a prosecution, does not have any ill will. I don't hate Sam Howell. I don't believe that Sam Howell is complete garbage. Look, I understand why people like this guy. I just want to make the case that there's no reason to arbitrarily assign QB1 status to anybody who was picked in the fifth round. There's data to support this. I will present that to you through the course of this trial. There are standards in the NFL. If you want to win, which we have not done over the past, 30 plus years, okay, that this franchise cannot continue to pursue mediocre talents and hoping for the best. So it is my intent as a prosecution to prove to you not that Sam Howell is a failure, but our process to the path of QB1 for Sam Howell has been the failure. That is all.
Objection.
You cannot object to my opening statements.
Well, I'm the judge. You can object.
Judge, before we let the defense set their arguments here, is there anything that you want to add to this?
I would like to add that I may not be a partial judge in this, but I'm going to do my best to hear you both out. I'm fairly sure, based on our conversations over the past several months, that I know what both of you are going to say. But I'll try to be, and like I said, Audrey and Albert will keep me honest as best as can and keep me impartial.
Very well. We appreciate that, Your Honor. And Brian, with that, we'd like to hear your opening defense, please.
Opening defense. Thank you, Mr. Prosecutor, for allowing me to go first in this mockery, the sham of a trial here to malign my client, Samuel F. Howell. But first, let me start with something here. We had the opportunity, really the good luck to interview one offensive coordinator, Phil Longo, who was the offensive coordinator at the University of North Carolina while Sam Howell was in attendance and while he played for the football team at that school. So I'd like to enter subject matter expert Coach Phil Longo into the record here and to tell you a little bit about Sam Howell.
And he doesn't ever want to lose a play mentally, and then he rarely is going to lose a play because of his arm talent. And so he's a hard guy to beat when you have a guy that athletically talented who can prepare the way he does mentally. And I think that's what makes him special. And the last thing I would say off the field and maybe away from you guys that I've talked about, but you don't see until you watch him play is how poised he is obsessed with the game.
Objection. Pandering to the jury. Your Honor, I move that those remarks be stricken from the record.
Overruled.
Thank you, Your Honor. Also, please note the prosecution was also part of this interview. It took place knowingly and willingly in this interview. But the point of those remarks are to give you a firsthand look from somebody who had direct experience, a coach, his offensive coordinator who was bear witness to the talent of Sam Howell. Sam Howell started as a freshman at the University of North Carolina. In fact, he had to beat out two veteran quarterbacks in order to take that starting job and had to play in and against some very tough competition his freshman year with a very kind of undermatched team there at the University of North Carolina, which I'll speak more to in the coming moments. But Sam Howell, as you heard from his coach, prepares seriously and like no other quarterback has before him here in Washington. He takes the preparation of being a quarterback very seriously, the film study, the extra practice hours, the additional note taking, the preparation, all of those in the effort to be a better player, to be a better quarterback, to help his teammates. And also in that clip you did hear about, it may sounded like a throwaway line, but it said Sam Howell will not get beat on arm talent. And as we all know, this is a league full of guys who can sling the football around, and Sam Howell has arm talent for days.
Conjecture. We have no proof of Sam Howell's studying habits in his time with the NFL or with the Commanders last season. That is a statement that is based solely on opinion derived from social media and not fact. I object.
I will allow that objection. We'll sustain that objection.
And again,
we weren't in the film room with him. I thought you were going to object to his arm talent, though.
Yeah,
I was going to overrule that with the quickness.
And if you want to overrule the arm talent, that's fine. I enter in item number 2 into evidence. This is the Senior Bowl chart from 2022 when Sam Howell attended the Senior Bowl as a participant. In this chart, it lists the longest air yards, average air yards, highest spin rate, average spin rate, air speed, and some other statistics of all of the top quarterbacks in the Senior Bowl. So this actually gives you a little bit of a actual statistical outlook on Sam's actual arm talent. Something striking that jumps off the page here out of all of these quarterbacks is highest spin rate and average spin rate. RPMs. What's spin rate? That's how many revolutions that ball spins in the air. Essentially, what that spin rate is and does is it keeps it's a measure of that ball spinning through the air, which means its intent is to keep that ball in motion without being disrupted by somebody's hand trying to tip the pass, wind, rain, etc. That means it will get to its point of destination faster and undisturbed. A good example of this was in the Dallas Cowboys game where Sam Howell threw a slant pass to Jahan Dotson. The ball was tipped by a Cowboys defender, but it still arrived on time and unmolested and into the hands of Jahan Dotson, who then had a big gain afterwards. So this is all to tell you that Sam Howell, who at the Senior Bowl had the spin rate, the highest spin rate of any quarterback at 728 RPMs. That's amazing. The next highest guy was a one Desmond Ritter, 673 RPMs. Significant difference. The average spin rate that Sam Howell put on the ball for every throw, 516 RPMs. The next highest guy, Malik Willis, 483 RPMs. Again, big difference. That speaks to the arm talent. It is a first-round arm. It is a starting caliber arm in the NFL. Prosecution, would you like to continue?
I would like to just chime in to allow the audience or ask the audience to excuse all the nerd talk about RPMs and spin rate. I started glazing over during that. I know that's probably right up Ellie's alley, but I agree. I'm just trying to give you a virtual wedgie right now. This is horrible.
I agree.
It's real. It's on my Twitter. So if anybody wants to go look at it at Mr. Who won, and you can go check that out.
Thank you, Your Honor. I appreciate your unrelenting fairness and determination to have a fair and just trial. I cannot thank you for that enough. And I know that those watching and attending this trial and audio would appreciate that as well. Now, the prosecution brought in a lot of information, but they didn't come with a lot of facts, right? It was a lot of opinions about Sam Howell. And he talked about Sam Howell's offensive coordinator, who fundamentally stood something to gain from promoting one Sam Howell, okay? As an offensive coordinator in a program that has struggled to identify itself on the major college football landscape, you need to recruit. The best way to recruit is to become an advocate for your players that have come through your program. Look at Deion Sanders in Colorado and Jackson State. He promotes the crap out of his players so that new recruits will want to come to his organization. I would also state that Mr. Longo, who we have a great deal of respect for, has factually elevated his own position on the basis of what he gained from his promotional tour with Sam Howell. Now, listen, this is the NFL, right? Senior Bowl stats to me mean very little. I could name for you probably 75% of the players that go through the Senior Bowl that don't become much of anything at the NFL level. So while I enjoyed the Senior Bowl as an event, I would not classify that as a way to justify or predict future success in the NFL. In fact, you could make the argument that players in the Senior Bowl are in the Senior Bowl because their NFL futures are not secure. Now, this notion that we have got to get rid of as a fan base, as an organization, as the NFL in general, of Sam Howell not belonging in the 5th round has to die. Sam Howell was picked in the 5th round, not because of a loss of weapons at UNC, not because Sam Howell just was slightly off that year. He was picked in the 5th round because NFL talent evaluators looked at every NFL prospect, especially at the quarterback position, picked them apart, detail from detail, and said, you know what? This guy's not better than Malik Willis. He's not better than Kenny Pickett. He's not better than who else went? Bailey Zappi. He's not better than
prosecution is presupposing NFL scouts are always right and are never prone to being incorrect.
Okay.
I don't like that objection. I'm going to overrule that, but I'll object myself. You're insinuating that every NFL scout had Sam Howell below those guys, and not just NFL scouts who were looking for a quarterback. Because what I'll tell you is that 2022 was a weird year for quarterbacks, because going into the draft, virtually every team had a starter in place. very few teams were looking to upgrade at quarterback in 2022. And that is not conjecture. That's a straight up fact. Go back and look at it. Nobody was looking to improve outside of Pittsburgh and a few straggling teams. Nobody was looking to upgrade the quarterback position. So I think that's what the defense was trying to say when he objected. I'll just go ahead and clarify that for him. But go ahead and continue, Mr. Prosecutor.
It is a fact that while maybe they weren't looking to upgrade, which is conjecture, that they still picked 4 or 5 other guys ahead of him, even if the idea was to be backup. That is not something that can be argued by the defense, the judge, or anyone else. The evaluator said, we like these guys better, period. And they did so because of what they saw on film and what they saw in person at the combine and at the Senior Bowl itself. Now, I will agree with what the prosecution said. Sam Howell's throwing power was 59 miles per hour at the combine, I believe, which is one of the top throwing power registered, I think, in the last couple of years. I think not Malik Willis, I believe Anthony Richardson was between 59 and 62 miles per hour. And I will also add into evidence, Eric and I at OTAs were quite impressed with Sam Howell's throwing power and the way the ball jumps off of his hand. I saw that in person. That is a fact. Eric will back up on that as the judge. Sorry, Your Honor, not Eric. Now, the issue is the control of that throwing power has always been problematic for Sam Howell, especially against good to great competition. Now, I would like to insert into evidence the scouting report for Sam Howell from Sports Illustrated. Now, Sports Illustrated identified some weaknesses for Sam Howell, and you got to get your spreadsheet in there, so chill. I see you about to object, so let's relax, okay? His deep passes can travel for very long. I don't know who wrote this, but they need to edit this. Letting safeties come over and make plays on him. He tends to get late to his targets over the middle, causing them to get hit. Howell gets passes batted at the line and deflected by underneath defenders as he is unable to get over them because of his height. He takes too many sacks because he fails to identify blitzes pre-snap and does not have an internal clock. He has a narrow base and gets a lazy back foot, not rotating his lower body around. Howell flips the ball in his hands to find the laces, and he does not always slide as a runner. And Howell pats the ball before he throws the football every single time. Those are tells in the NFL. Now, a lot of you are probably basing your optimism around Sam Howell based on college, which the NFL said thanks but no thanks. He's a 5th-round pick. Or his game against the Dallas Cowboys, to which he was 11 of 19, right? And in that game, Sam Howell made some great throws, but all NFL quarterbacks make great throws. That's why they're in the NFL. The key is the consistency. What is he going to do when defenses figure him out, right? How is he going to adjust? What other tools does he have in the toolkit? And guess what? All the issues that I read in that draft report, you saw manifest themselves at least once in that game. He took 3 sacks in that game, in a game in which Dallas's pass rush was not all that. Now, I would like to call my first witness, and I'm going to call Brian to the witness stand, our defense attorney. Yes, I could do that in this declassified court. Judge, I'm going to call Brian as my witness.
I thought I had I get to a rebuttal to the Sports Illustrated thing.
This is still my thing. Okay, you didn't object. You didn't object. You lost your opportunity. Okay, Brian, you're a professional individual. Is that correct?
Correct.
And in your professional opinion, you believe that things should be earned and not given, correct?
Correct.
And you're a hardworking individual, a sharp dressing, hardworking individual. Excuse me. And if a coworker had come into your place of employment, been there for a couple of weeks, and just took your job over with no real credibility or actions to warrant that, would you be a happy man, Brian?
I'm sorry, what relevance does this have in the case at hand?
I'm drawing parallels, Brian. I'm drawing parallels. So please answer the question.
Coach Rivera said the job would have to be earned.
I'm asking you.
Have to be earned.
I'm asking you. So the answer is yes, but I know you're not wanting to say that. But Brian, if you
Also, for the record, no one has ever stated Sam should be given the job. He should have to earn it. I don't
Please
think
stick
that
to the
there's
question.
anything wrong.
Stick
There's
to the
nothing
question.
wrong with earning a job.
Okay. So, Brian, if you went to a mechanic, let's say you went to that mechanic 19 times to change your oil, and he got it right 11 times, would you continue to pursue that as your number one mechanic if he only changed your oil correctly 11 of 19 times?
I take issue with the metric you're using to grade mechanics. I like mechanics that are, reputable businesses and that are listed on the Better Business Bureau. So, I don't like your metric by which you.
I would. Okay.
I would agree with that. I don't like the mechanic. I mean, if I got my oil changed 19 times in one day, I think there's a bigger problem than somebody not changing my oil right. So I'm going to need the prosecution to come up with a better analogy, because that's a garbage analogy.
All right, fair enough. I did not say one day, for the record. I said 19 times, and you're at about 57%. Okay, so
according to your analogy, the national mechanic average would be about 65%, which is also terrible for getting your oil changed.
Which fair point, Your Honor. But is 57 less than 65? Is that correct?
57 what?
Sure. Is 57 less than 65?
It is.
It is. It is well less than 65, correct?
Yes.
Now, in a sport that is predicated on accuracy, 57% would be one of the worst completion percentages in the NFL, correct? Amongst starting quarterbacks.
Over
correct?
the course of a season, yes. But sample size, take one game out of any quarterback season, and it may not be 65%.
Okay. Well,
I'm sorry, I'm answering the defensive questions. But
you must remain impartial. So it's all the evidence we have to go by at this point. And so while he's on trial early on in the process, it is the evidence that we have. Now, the quarterback named
Your Honor, I'd like to enter in a new piece of evidence, if I may.
You cannot as a witness, not yet. Sam Howell as a quarterback, it's true. He had 2 touchdowns, I think, that Dallas game. And he played an effective game. But the numbers do not lie. Okay.
1-0.
The team is 1-0, Brian. Games are not won by themselves. Okay. However, against Dallas, our bitter rival, he completed 57% of his passes, 168 yards passing. And his offensive pass grade was a 61.5 according to PFF. Now, is PFF scientific? No, but it's a metric that the entire league uses, so we can use it for comparison. The reason Sam Howell's performance was viewed so highly was because of what he did on the ground. From a purely passing perspective, it was well below spectacular. His big-time throws were about 4.5%. He had 1 big-time throw, turnover-worthy plays, 3.6%. Okay.
How many drops?
I don't see that under his particular stats. And he took 3 sacks. Now, that is a decent performance other than the completion percentage for a quarterback that is a middling quarterback. It is not. It's stats that I would expect to see of Taylor Heineke.
You can't make the assumption he's middling after that was his first game.
It is the stats similar to Taylor Heineke. I will put it that way. And we have all sat here and said that Taylor Heineke is not a long-term option at starting quarterback. And so
if I may interject,
you may.
Let's say his first game was 54.9% passing. Would you say he's a failure as a quarterback?
And the evidence that
in his first game, would that be a poor performance as a quarterback? And would that be an indicator of how poor he's going to be as a quarterback?
Circumstances matter in this scenario.
Okay, because, that was Trevor Lawrence against the Houston Texans, which would you agree that the Houston Texans in 2021 were a worse team than Dallas in 2022?
Not in the last week of the season, no.
In the first game, in the first week of the season.
I don't know. I don't follow Houston. I don't follow Houston.
I will go ahead and say the Houston Texans were a terrible team in 2021 in the first game. And Trevor Lawrence threw for 55% against them. So
how tall is Trevor Lawrence? What round? Yeah. What pick?
Oh, so I'm just trying to make sense of that because he's taller and was drafted in the first round.
Correct.
His passing percentage in the first game isn't indicative, but Sam Howell, a quarterback's it's his first game in the pros. It's his first game. I don't like that. I don't like where you're going with the argument because it's
an
I'm
NFL
comparing apples
argument
to
that
apples. I'm comparing the first game of a quarterback to the first game of a quarterback in the pros.
What week of the season did Trevor Lawrence start?
He started in week 1.
Sam Howell started in what?
Week 17.
Okay, so he had 17 weeks of practice and the full off season to prepare for this first start, right? To prepare in the NFL, playing against NFL caliber players. You're comparing this to Trevor Lawrence, who was fresh out of college.
You had 1 week of preparation as a third quarterback. You don't get starting reps. You know that. Everybody, no one gets starting reps unless you're the starter.
You get reps, though.
Yeah, as the scout team, team quarterback, you're playing the other team's quarterback.
You get some reps. Cut it out because Carson Wentz was hurt.
That's how you get better. You got to play the offense.
Your Honor, we're not being truthful. Carson Wentz was hurt for how long? And who was quarterback 2, Brian?
The quarterback with more experience.
Okay, thank you. He was QB2 while Wentz was hurt, correct?
Yeah, backup quarterbacks do not get starting reps. That is
starting reps. He got reps.
As the scout team guy.
How many weeks?
They don't get starter reps. You can't just say reps.
You're leading from the reps.
There's only starter reps, and then there's scout team reps.
Now we're making excuses. Sam Howell got 17 weeks of film study. He got 17 weeks of film correction. He got 17 weeks of coaching, right? He's in that quarterback room with Ken Zampese for 17 weeks plus the entire offseason. Trevor Lawrence had, 6 weeks of offseason prep, 3 weeks of training camp, and he started. There is a monumental difference between the two. That is not apples and oranges. That is apples and mangoes. Now, let me get back to my argument because
Trevor Lawrence got more preparation and had that performance in the first game.
He did not see as much
film. They're working for the first round pick, right? The starter.
He did not see as much film against starting NFL defenses for 17 weeks before he started, correct? And he was coached in the biggest debacle in the NFL of Urban Meyer.
You didn't know that in week 1. You didn't know that in week 1.
We didn't know that week 1. That organization was probably well aware of that week 1. Now, thank you. Brian, you can leave the witness stand. Thank you very much. Now,
all right. Now I can object.
All right. So the bottom line is this, okay? Sam Howell has potential. He does. And I like Sam Howell as a prospect that could develop into maybe a long-term backup, and we'll see from there. My point is this process, and from what we've seen from him so far, has in no way justified him being named QB1 at this point. It's not to say that he cannot earn it or he can't get to that point, but as a 5th-round pick, which is what he was, we have to accept that. He has to prove it. He has to learn. He has to grow. 11 of 19 for 160 yards is not enough. The defense rests.
Okay.
I'd like to have a quick rebuttal as I didn't know that it was going to take that much time, Your Honor.
One moment. I just want to point out one other stat line that might shed some light on this. This is much more comparable to Sam Howell. This is a 6th-round draft pick. First game, second year starting, 13 of 23, 56.5%, 168 yards passing, 0 TDs, 0 interceptions, 1 sack. Any guesses who that was?
6th round.
Pick 199. Tom Brady.
Oh, come on, Eric, Judge, Your Honor. How many?
I'm sorry.
Years ago
this is Tom Brady's first start as a late-round draft pick.
What year?
With plenty of preparation.
What year?
It was 2001.
2001.
It was 2001 when it was when cornerbacks were allowed to mug wide receivers at the line of scrimmage.
There are people born in 2001 that have children now. It is a completely different NFL right now.
Yes, it's much harder to play quarterback in 2001.
Exactly.
Quarterback, but regardless,
Your Honor.
Thank you, Your Honor, for making
but you're saying, but you've got a late round pick.
No, that's not
the greatest of all time.
Was the stats weren't that effective in his first game, and it's a much harder league now. And you're making my point for me.
Passing games are much more complex now, though. There's a lot more reads.
He doesn't make those reads. He made the first read and got out of there. But
that's conjecture.
It is conjecture, but I'm right. So look, thank you for making my point.
You've had your turn, prosecution.
Tom Brady was 25 years ago.
I have the
completely different NFL.
To rebuttal. So the Sports Illustrated scouting report that the prosecution used listed lots of negatives about my client Sam Howell. In particular, his deep ball and the deep ball that took too long, which it kind of is an oxymoron, right? A deep ball, it goes very, very far. So, but in that same article listed under pros, the writer says. Sam Howell has a pretty deep ball with lots of air underneath, and it drops over the shoulder into the bucket. So what I would say is under pros, they say the deep ball is good. Under cons, they say the deep ball is bad. I would move that this piece of evidence be stricken from the record as it's contradictory, and the person who wrote it really clearly doesn't necessarily know what they're talking about with those conflicting statements. Now,
the article is pointing out inconsistency. Thank you.
Piece of evidence number 3 is this. Sam Howell on third down in his entire college career was 51 of 73 in his entire college career. You know what that is? That is 70%. I'm sorry. That's not his entire college career. That was his junior year. 715 passing yards, 8 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. That's on third down. That's on the most important down in football, most commonly known as the money down. That is where quarterbacks make their living and make their name. Sam Howell, 70%.
Your Honor. Sam Howell no longer plays in college. He plays in the NFL. What he did in college at this point is very much meaningless in terms of a stat.
Your Honor, the prosecution won't even let him play in the NFL. So how can he get experience if you won't let him play in the NFL? So let me finish. 8 touchdowns, no interceptions. That is the type of quarterback that you want on your team. That is a guy who knows when the stakes are at their highest, he will perform. And that's just what he did. Evidence number piece 4. Sam Howell in the ACC threw 92 passing touchdowns. 2 other former first-round draft picks, one Trevor Lawrence and one Deshaun Watson, both selected in the first round, threw for 90 passing touchdowns. My client, Sam Howell, was exceptional in college and produced at a level that outpaced some of the number 1 draft picks that we've seen come into the NFL in the last couple of years, including the 2 I just named. Another piece of interesting information that Sam Howell has here from his time at UNC, which tells and belies the potential he has. At the time, in 2021, his last year in college, Sam Howell was one of 2 Power 5 quarterbacks to register back-to-back 300-yard passing games with back-to-back 100-yard rushing games. Do you know the other quarterback? That was a young man at the University of Louisville named Lamar F. Jackson. Another first-round quarterback.
Why is everybody's middle initial F?
Objection.
Is that really a thing?
Names.
Yeah. No, it's not their real first name. That's just what I can remember. So, or middle
Lamar
name.
F. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but what I'm telling you here is with the actual data, with the actual production on the field, he performed at a level consistent with number 1 quarterbacks drafted into the NFL. The prosecution has only served to say 1 point. He is a 5th-round pick, so he should not be given an opportunity. In the land of America, why would we not give somebody an opportunity?
We're laying it on thick now.
This is where we should give everyone an opportunity.
We're breaking out America. Okay, can I make a ruling here?
The NFL.
We're rebutting the rebuttal. This is a nightmare.
Okay, not a league of everybody gets opportunity. That's why there are only 32 starting quarterback jobs in the NFL. What with the defense and every other fan listening to this episode has to understand is Sam Howell is no longer at the University of North Carolina. He is no longer going to be the best athlete in the room. He is in the NFL now, where he has to prove it on his mind and his ability to process information and deliver the football inside an NFL offense. Sam Howell played in an RPO-heavy system, which led to a lot of the stats that he's gotten. We've seen spread offense after spread offense provide quarterbacks with the ability to stat pack, jack up stats, and rack up stats. And what they turn into in the NFL? A whole lot of nothing. Sam Howell was a 5th-round pick because the NFL evaluated him as such. That does not make me a hater. It makes me a truth teller, and that's what it is.
The truth is, all quarterbacks play in an RPO. It is everywhere. There's very few quarterbacks who play in a pro style. Maybe one, maybe two. Everybody plays in an RPO style
But
offense.
not all of them get picked in the 5th round. Brian, do you have any witnesses you'd like to call?
I think I presented so much evidence. I'd like to actually play some more evidence here. I'll play one more for you guys here. This is again from an interview that was done.
Back and start year one. From what we've seen, Sam is mature enough, in the college offense to
That
be
is
able
the
to translate
prosecution's
and
voice.
Participate in NFL offense in year one. Is there any
Agreeing
reason
he
you
should
would have to think
participate
that
in
he
offense
couldn't
year
be a
one?
year one starter?
No, and the reason I say that is because he came in as a true freshman, beat out 2 veterans, and opened up his college career against an SEC opponent in Charlotte, and won the game. And then we played a Miami team that at that time.
Your Honor, again, that was the prosecution agreeing with with Coach Longo, a subject matter expert in football, in college football, where Sam Howell played, that he is prepared to start day one. He is prepared to participate, in his words, day one in the NFL. And because, again,
Objection. I am not an expert in that field and therefore cannot be entered as evidence about
No, you're
Sam
not the
Howell's
expert.
ability to start.
Coach Longo is the expert.
Coach
I would really like to make a ruling. I really would.
Well, we got okay. Brian, closing arguments, please.
Closing arguments. Let's get this done. No objections, no rebuttals to the closing. Just make your argument. Ellie, make your argument. And let me make a ruling. It's getting late.
Sam Howell was drafted for a reason. It was to play quarterback. Let him earn the job. He beats out Jacoby Brissett, and he plays. And if he plays well, questions answered. If he plays poorly, he goes to the bench. It's that simple. There is no other discussion that needs to be had. There is no other reason to keep him from competing. We do not keep people from trying to earn a living. And this is Sam Howell's way to earn a living. He should be given that opportunity to earn it. And that is what he will do by competition with Jacoby Brissett over the course of this summer. Thank you, Your Honor. And those are very nice glasses.
I'd like to let the jury or remind the jury about one of the most important trials in American history.
OJ?
No, not OJ.
Okay.
It's My Cousin Vinny. And in that trial, my cousin Vinny Gambini, the attorney, reminds the judge of a few key factors. But most importantly, he says the words Utes. And why is Utes relevant here? Because Utah is where BYU is. And BYU has a quarterback that I think is pretty similar, or had a quarterback that is pretty similar to what I think Sam Howell could be in the NFL, and that's Taysom Hill. Sam Howell has a lot of potential, but the judge's face. Okay, I was joking about Taysom Hill. I didn't mean that. Strike that from the record.
I think we're doing the trial of Anthony Richardson, I think.
Yeah, that's Taysom Hill right there.
All right, Sam Howell has a lot of. This is serious. All right, Sam Howell has a lot of potential. Okay, but so does every other quarterback that comes into the NFL. Bailey Zappi played well in a couple of games for New England. And then they went right back to their starter, Mac Jones, who really hasn't proven to be all that great of a quarterback in the NFL. But Mac Jones gets those reps because Mac Jones is a first-round pick. The quarterback that everybody likes, or Rivera has recently compared him to, was Brock Purdy. And I would argue that in year 2 of Brock Purdy, we have to wait and see how that's going to come together. But statistically, Brock Purdy is in for a significant regression. Now, Brock Purdy is also surrounded by probably the best supporting cast overall in the NFL. And while I love our receiver, Sam Howell is not surrounded by that level of defense, nor is he surrounded by that level of talent at the running back position. Brock Purdy made his living throwing short and was absolutely incapable of throwing deep. That is not what we want from Sam Howell. We want Sam Howell to be the guy. And listen, if the draft position didn't fit, we would have quit. If it didn't fit, we would have quit. But Sam Howell fit the profile of a 5th-round quarterback, and that's why he was taken there. Now, as we've said consistently throughout this trial, it's up to Sam Howell for him to prove to the league and to everyone else that he is, in fact, better than the rest of the quarterbacks in his class. And even that's not good enough. Sam Howell has to be, for this football team, and very early on, because of the ownership situation, he has to be the guy. It is not good enough for him to not fall flat on his face, as Coach Rivera likes to say. He has to impress upon not only the fan base, but the coaches and the new owners that he is a top 15 starting caliber quarterback. Now, does Sam Howell's 5th round draft status determine everything? Not emotionally, not generally, but statistically, it is a magnanimous, I'm not going to use that word. It is a large factor in his outcome. 94% of 5th round quarterbacks flame out in the NFL. 48% somewhere thereof of 1st round quarterbacks flame out in the NFL. That's not a high rate of success, but is significantly higher than 5th round picks. 4% of 5th round picks work out long term as a starter in the NFL. That is not a measure for success. That is a gamble and not an opportunity, I think, that makes sense pursuing over the long term. We have got to become more analytical as a team in Washington, and that starts with the front office identifying a quarterback who has the opportunity for long-term success. By definition, Jacoby Brissett has a higher chance of success in the NFL than Sam Howell. Now, we'll see how it all plays out. My argument has only ever been that it needs to be a fair competition, and if there are opportunities to upgrade that position in the draft or free agency, they need to pursue those. They need to decide that free agency didn't offer that window. Now it's up to the draft. And if they decide the draft doesn't offer that opportunity, then they need to let this be a pure quarterback competition between Sam Howell and Jacoby Brissett. And at this point in time, I am not confident who wins that. I completely rest my case, Your Honor.
All right. I guess it's my turn to talk now. As the judge, I've conferred with my jury while you guys were doing your closing arguments, because these are all things that I've read over our text messages over the past year. That said, there are a few details I would like to point out. First, to the prosecution's point that Jacoby Brissett has a higher rate of success. Jacoby Brissett has an established track record as a poor starter. He is 18-30 as a starter. I don't anticipate that changing much when should he become the starter in DC. Second, I understand the prosecution's point regarding the late round draft picks and the success rate. However, I would like to point out the history of this particular franchise and the success rate, the success it has had, the lack of success it has had with high round draft quarterbacks and lower round draft, much more success with lower round. Case in point, 2 of the 3 Super Bowl champion quarterbacks were drafted in the 4th round or later. Joe Theismann taken in the 4th round of 1971's draft. Mark Rippon taken in the 6th round of 1986 draft. The only outlier would be Mr. Doug Williams, who was taken in the 1st round, I believe, in 1977 or 8. Good for him. Second, recently, playoff success. The last quarterback to lead this team to the playoffs. 2020, I can't really count because there was like 17 quarterbacks on the roster. Go back to 2015, Kirk Cousins, 4th round draft pick. 2012, 1st round draft pick with Mr. Robert Griffin III. Go back to 2007. You have a quarterback by committee, but Todd Collins is your guy. I believe he was a 2nd round pick, but a career backup. Go back to 2005. Mark Brunell, a 6th round draft pick, took this team to the playoffs. The last quarterback to win a playoff start would be Mark Brunell, a 6th round draft pick. Go back prior to that, 1999, Brad Johnson, a 9th round pick. This particular franchise seems to hit better on late round quarterbacks. Now, that's not an indicator of the future. That is just a simple fact. That this franchise just doesn't do it better. This is a team that has not had a franchise quarterback since the 1960s. Technically, maybe you could consider Joe Theismann, but honestly, he was a good, not great quarterback.
Would you add Gus Frerotte, a 7th round
draft pick? A 7th round draft pick. Never took this team to the playoffs.
Made a Pro Bowl
in the last 20 years.
Never took this team to the playoffs, so I'm going to go ahead and discount Gus Frerotte. He was a solid quarterback, much better than the 1st round quarterback we took in the same year.
Yeah.
Finally, my last point that I'm going to make, and I'm surprised that the defense did not bring this up. It is my primary motivator behind my decision. That is that 2023 is a complete waste of a football season for the Washington Commanders franchise. It is common knowledge this team is up for sale. The new ownership will be in place most likely by the time the season begins. The current front office and coaching staff will most likely not be in place by the time next season ends. There will be a complete reset in 2024. For that reason, and that reason only, I'm going to go ahead and say Sam Howell should start this season because it just doesn't matter. If it were any other season, I would probably be on the prosecution side. I would be looking to upgrade at quarterback. I am not willing to. I would prefer this team go 2-15 this year than go 7-10 again. However, knowing who the head coach is and knowing what his track record is, this team will most likely, regardless of whether it's Sam Howell, Jacoby Brissett, or whoever they draft, will most likely finish with 7 or 8 wins and will be picking in the middle of the first round next year. I don't want to do anything to jeopardize that. This is an ideal year for Sam Howell to get a shot, to prove himself. If he is the guy, this team has found its quarterback moving forward. He saves the coaching staff's job potentially. We move forward with a starter. If he is not the guy, we're getting reset in 2024 anyway, and there is no reason to upend that. There's no reason to make a big move this year. There's no reason to try to move up to get a quarterback, to trade for somebody. If somebody falls to you at 16, sure, pull the trigger. If it's, somebody like what's the kid from Kentucky, Will Levis, or if Anthony Richardson were to fall, I doubt he would really start this year, but why not pull the trigger there because he fell to you, right? I don't think it's a good idea to take a quarterback high this year. You're just setting him up for failure with a new coaching staff. So that is the reason I say Sam Howell will be the starter this year. Jacoby Brissett will be his backup unless Sam Howell is absolutely dreadful all the way through OTAs, mini camps, and training camp. There's no reason to believe that he won't be the starter in week 1. Therefore, I find for the defense, Sam Howell is your starting quarterback in 2022.
I don't agree with you,
Your Honor. Thank you.
I don't agree with the ruling, but I accept your logic. Your ruling in this court is final and complete. It is now law. Per the court, Sam Howell should be QB1 this year, and we will live with it. I will not file an appeal because I have no say in the matter. But thank you for everybody listening. Look, we don't walk away from this listening and think that we completely despise Sam Howell or I completely despise Sam Howell. This is a trial to prove points on the merit that we need to consider our options. This is a lot of fun, Brian. Thank you. As your defense, nice job. Eric, thank you, Your Honor, for being our judge this evening. Even though your dissent was wholly incorrect. We're going to wrap it up here. Like, subscribe, comment. Let us know if you guys enjoyed this or not. And we will catch you on the flip side.
Oh, two things.
Uh-oh.
We got 2 confirmations of $6 billion bids. What you guys think? $6 billion bids today.
Yeah.
Formal, official.
I think Jeff Bezos is still not interested in this team. No, I'm kidding. I think it's good. It's good. We're getting close, and we're going to wrap this up soon, hopefully within the next 3 months, and be sold. To Eric's point, before the season, we'll probably have new ownership in place, and for that, I could not be happier. And then 2024 is going to be our year, fellas. It's going to be the one.
2024 Super Bowl or bust.
That's it.
See you guys.